Read all the stories about BYU sports no one else has heard. Go to KSLSports.com for exclusive columns by BYU insider Mitch Harper. That's KSLSports.com.
Welcome back into First and 12. Mitch Harper and Alex Kirry with you. The battle between the Big 12 and the ACC seems to always ramp up this time of the year, trying to position themselves to who's better, who's the better league, who's got the better teams. I don't know if you saw this tweet on X, Alex, from the ACC Football X account earlier today. It was a graphic of the Miami Hurricanes, basically resume, showing the top 25 wins, top 10 wins this season, and then an also interesting stat, top 25 wins at time of game. And this was comparing Miami to BYU and Utah, and the time of game piece shows Miami with 3 wins. So, yeah, that South Florida win, those wins against FSU are apparently a big deal now in the eyes of the ACC.
You know, listen, you got to put your elbows out, bro. You know how it is this time of year. The creativity that you get from a lot of these conferences on – how to put yourself out there. I mean, this is the equivalent of rolling out Jacob Rodriguez to Big Noon Kickoff with the ACC. No one's buying it, by the way. And here's the other thing is that, interestingly enough, Miami actually doesn't have to do this type of stuff because the committee does it for them. People here. What makes the Miami interesting is the brand name. I mean, let's be honest about it. They're putting together, and it's hard not to be cynical about this, Mitch, when you see the way that this was treated. I mean, think about how – I mean, it's hard to think back on national championships awarded in the past. And there's some bias there because they were such imperfect systems. If it's the BCS, if it's the 4-team playoff, if it was just before a bunch of chubby white football writers going, I think that should be the champion. You know, like that was also a terrible way to do it. However – like, did we really look at a 51-47 win, you know, or a 6-point win over a team anywhere in your schedule, and you went, that's not good enough. Like, you better actually show out. I'm gonna need to see 480 yards of total offense plus from you. I'm gonna need to see you shut a team out. No one asked for style points ever previously. You think about how difficult it is to get to the spot that you are where you're winning games. Look, no one's going to go back. It's easy to go back and look at the losses that teams have, like especially right now, that's what's weird too. If BYU or Utah or Texas Tech would have lost a game, 2 weeks ago, which is when Miami lost a game 3 weeks ago, which is when they lost to Louisville, who's now lost 3 games in a row, and they're a 4-loss team. Don't do Louisville at the time was ranked. You're exactly right. So was USF. So was Florida State. None of those teams right now, I think USF is the only one who has a winning record out of those. You have a 500 record from Louisville. You have a sub-500 record from a really bad Florida State team. And look, Alabama is embarrassed by how things turned out, right? They lost to that Florida State team, and here's the thing. That second loss that they had on the year, people are looking at it and going, you lost at home against Oklahoma, and then you have this Florida State loss. But here's the thing. No one dings them on those. Instead, we prefer to ding teams like Utah, like BYU. Oh, Utah, you only scored 51, or you only won 51-47 against Kansas State. It's like, dude, Kansas State is not USF. Can we agree on that? Can we agree that on any given week, Miami might have a real hard time with a team like Kansas State? I think you would see trouble with that type of a team. It's not like Miami has it all figured out. That's the part that I don't understand. In the ACC, I get it. You got to put your elbows out. What's wild is you're going to see an ACC league with 2 teams that get bids in a year that they probably don't actually qualify to get 1, and they're probably going to get 2, and it's going to cost the Big 12 at the same time. On any given year, Mitch, if you're the Big 12, you have to look at it and you have to go. And if they're going to continue with this 12-team model, which they said the College Football Playoff Committee and ESPN agreed They're going to punt from that December 1st decision time frame, right? Did you see this today?
Mm-hmm.
They're going to punt from December 1 and go to January 23rd on deciding whether or not they're going to go to an expanded format. And that might be just, the Big Ten and the SEC going, you know what, we'll just take it the way it is right now. If people don't do with what we want to do, then we're not going to go to 16 or 24 teams in the playoff. The reality is that either way, if it is 24 teams, it's a little bit easier to have a discussion about getting in, but you're still going to have the same things. You're going to have a discussion about first team out, second team out, first team in, second team in, whatever, because as it stands, what's wild about how they did it is Miami goes to 12, but the first two teams out, according to the College Football Playoff Committee, the first two teams out are Utah and BYU and Utah, 11 and 13. 12 gets in because they're the supposed, and then they didn't put ACC champ. They put need to win the conference. And you're like, Miami will not win the conference. Yep. They will not. Mitch, they're not going to go to the conference championship game. There are four other teams in front of them, and they're not going to even get there. And yet the committee wants them there, and so they're going to get rewarded by not going to the ACC championship game. And by coasting into the end of this thing, if they just kind of end with one, even if they won by a touchdown, let's say they win by 4 points. I don't even know who their final opponent is of the season. If they win
Pitt.
that final game, okay. Now going to Pitt that's no easy task, right? They're going to Pitt.
Yes.
And Pitt's a ranked team right now. Now, if they beat Pitt and they do it by 2 points, oh man, you went into their place and you beat them. If you go in there and you lose, they're all the way out. There's no way of being able to save that. But then the question is, how far up do they put Pitt? Because Pitt's going to be one of those teams that's going to be in the conference championship game. It's either UVA or Pitt or SMU. And it's a wild thing to watch there could potentially be a 3-loss SMU team getting into the college football playoff again, laughing their way all the way to get a college football. And frankly, a butt kicking in round one because they have no business being there.
And it really feels like the College Football Playoff Committee, they rank teams with the least resistance, because it's easy to just leave out BYU and Utah because the national media will not cry foul. Like, how dare you leave out BYU? I'm honestly stunned when you look back at it last year that SMU got picked in before Alabama. That shocked me, even though SMU absolutely belonged over Alabama, but I'm still stunned that they actually did it. And there was a case that BYU probably should have had more of a debate than SMU, who beat SMU. But
and then BYU played better this year, and they'll actually be further away this year than they were last year.
It's interesting too, Alex, when you think about it, because when you go back to preseason expectations, and the committee has referenced polls that exist before the rankings of the playoff committee, which is interesting this year. So preseason polls and perceptions have played a role in some degree with this season. If BYU had kept Jake Retzloff, which, again, I don't think they'd be in this spot at 10-1, knocking on the doorstep of Arlington with Jake Retzloff, with how this season has played out. But the perception of BYU was in a much better place with Jake Retzloff, and then losing him in July officially, that changed everything and kind of put BYU in the same spot they were in last year, and they had to play all this catch-up. Now, if they just kept Jake Retzloff and there wasn't an honor code situation, they're probably comfortably in the playoff. Like, that sounds crazy,
or maybe
they
lose more. Maybe they lose more games. I mean, who knows?
Definitely.
Bear Bachmeier has been that impressive, and what's weird is I watched John Gruden today on another, on one of the Barstool shows where, funny enough, Dave Portnoy is trying to stand up for BYU wherever they're at, and Coach Gruden goes, "Nah, they got a quarterback that's not going to be able to win big games. He's a freshman. I like what he's done, but I don't think he's going to be good enough." And you're like, "Come on, what are we doing here?" You're having these explanations of how this is going to go or how this should work out. Let's just all be honest. It's really how the AP poll, preseason poll, was that really determined where you are now. Ask Notre Dame. They lost 2 games at the beginning of the year. And you know what they were doing? Hanging around the top 25 for no reason. Instead, you've got teams like BYU and Utah that had to win 3 or 4 games to get things going, to be a part of that conversation of being in the top 25. It's all about where you start in the preseason polls. And that's where college football needs to fix it. And I don't care. The committee says that that's not the case. They're friggin' lying, Mitch. Mitch, they're lying to us. They're lying to us. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We've got more around the corner. We've got the week ahead in the Big 12. We've also got our picks a little bit later. So stay here. It is 102.7 FM, 1160 AM. It is 1st and 12.